A quick montage of legendary WWE Championship rivalry moments: Hulk Hogan lifting, Andre the Giant at WrestleMania III, The Rock and Stone Cold Steve, Austin standing face-to-face in the middle of a roaring arena, John Cena and CM Punk staring each other down before the bell rings in Chicago. Each moment flashes like a heartbeat of wrestling history. The crowd's energy, the sweat, the emotion, everything points to one thing: the WWE Championship has always been more than gold. Narrator, deep cinematic tone. Every era in wrestling has been defined by its rivalries. But what if the stories we remember, the promos, the betrayals, the victories, were only half of the truth? What if behind every title match there were battles fought not in the ring, but behind the curtain? This isn't just about who won the match. It's about what it took to get there, setting the stage. These aren't just matches. They're sagas built on loyalty, betrayal, and survival. Every time two superstars fight for the title, they carry decades of history and the weight of expectation. The WWE Championship has always been a symbol, a crown that only one can wear, but it's also a curse. For every champion who held it, there's a story of sacrifice. Some friendships were broken, some bodies destroyed, and some careers never recovered. Behind the lights and camera, there are late-night creative meetings, heated locker room confrontations, and quiet personal struggles. Sometimes, the biggest victories are overshadowed by what happens after the match ends. Tease the unknown. And in this story, we'll reveal one of those forgotten chapters. A rivalry you thought you knew, but didn't. Because somewhere among Hogan, Rock, Austin, Cena, and Punk lies an untold struggle. A secret decision that changed everything we saw on screen. Stay till the end, because the truth behind one of wrestling's greatest rivalries might just surprise you. The unseen struggles beyond the bell. The genesis of conflict. Before the pyrotechnics and the ring entrances, tension brews quietly. In the locker room, egos collide long before fists ever do. Sometimes creative direction favors one superstar over another. Sometimes real-life animosity fuels what becomes an unforgettable feud. Think about Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. What started as professional respect turned into personal hatred. Backstage insults, missed cues, and political games turned a scripted rivalry into one of the most real conflicts the business had ever seen. And when the cameras rolled, that reality bled into every punch, every word, every look. Not every rivalry begins in the ring. Some start with a handshake that never happens, or a promise that gets broken. The weight of the belt. The WWE Championship looks like gold, but it feels like pressure. Every champion carries not only the responsibility of the title, but the expectations of millions. They must perform flawlessly night after night, traveling 300 days a year, fighting injuries, loneliness, and the fear of being replaced. When CM Punk held the championship during his historic pipe bomb era, fans saw rebellion, but behind the scenes, Punk was frustrated, tired, and disillusioned. He carried the company while questioning the very system that made him champion. The audience saw confidence, but behind the curtain there was exhaustion. Championship reigns are heavy. They test not just skill but sanity. For some, the belt became a burden that changed their life forever. Overcoming obstacles. Behind every championship feud lies a personal battle fans rarely see. Daniel Bryan's journey to WrestleMania 30 wasn't just a storyline, it was survival. Told he was too small, too weak, too indie for the main event. Bryan fought through injuries and politics alike. When he finally raised both titles above his head, It wasn't just a victory, it was redemption. Eddie Guerrero, one of the most beloved champions, wrestled his demons as fiercely as his opponents. Addiction nearly took his life, but his passion brought him back to glory. Even Edge, forced to retire due to a broken neck, refused to stay down. Years later, when he returned, the emotion in his eyes told a story no script could write. These are the unseen struggles. Moments that prove the greatest battles often happen long before the bell rings. Forgotten moments, pivotal points you missed. The unscripted exchange. Not everything in WWE is written down. Sometimes, real emotion slips through the cracks, and that's when magic happens. When The Rock faced Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania X8, the crowd turned against The Rock mid-match. In that moment, Rock adjusted, feeding off their energy, turning the script upside down, and creating one of the most iconic matches of all time. When CM Punk sat cross-legged and unleashed his now infamous pipe bomb, it wasn't just a promo, it was a public confession. Nobody in production knew what he would say next. These moments weren't planned, they were felt. And they changed the course of wrestling history. The Backstage Gambit. Every title rivalry has a political side. Sometimes decisions are made in offices, not rings. In 1997, the Montreal Screwjob proved that management could rewrite the ending. Live. Bret Hart never agreed to lose that night, yet history was rewritten before our eyes. Years later, Brock Lesnar's shocking victory over The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30 wasn't revealed to most of the roster until moments before the match. The silence in the arena after the 3 count wasn't just disbelief. It was real shock. These gambits, these decisions, define who becomes legend and who fades away. The defining blooper. Sometimes accidents create immortality. Stone Cold's bleeding face at WrestleMania 13. The image of defiance wasn't scripted. Mick Foley's fall through the Hell in a Cell cage was a mistake that nearly killed him, but also cemented him as one of the toughest men alive. Wrestling thrives on control, but it's the chaos, the unpredictable, that creates true legends. Even the biggest mistakes can become the moments we'll never forget. The ripple effect, legacy, and evolution. Impact on the era. Every great rivalry changes the game. Hogan versus Andre made wrestling global. Austin versus McMahon redefined rebellion and authority. Cena versus Punk bridged the gap between eras. Old school loyalty versus new age defiance. Each era of WWE was built on the foundations of these rivalries. Rivalries that captured the world's imagination and changed what it meant to be a superstar. Shaping superstars. Championship rivalries do more than sell tickets. They build legacies. Bret and Shawn became the blueprint for technical storytelling. Austin and Rock became symbols of charisma and attitude. Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes now stand as the new generation's icons, their stories echoing the rivalries of the past. Every champion we celebrate today stands on the shoulders of those who came before. Each feud teaches the next how to carry the torch and the burden of greatness. Enduring relevance. Even in November 2025, the echoes of these rivalries are everywhere. Fans still debate who was greater, Rock or Austin, Cena or Punk, Roman or Cody. Modern storytelling still draws from those old rivalries. Real emotion, personal stakes, and authenticity. That's why they endure. Because at their core, they weren't just about wrestling. They were about humanity. The next chapter, your unseen stories. Fan engagement call. Every fan has their own memory. A match, a promo, a stare down that changed how they saw wrestling. Now it's your turn. Share your unseen stories in the comments below. Which rivalry deserves a deeper look? Which moment did the world forget, but you never did? Your story might just inspire the next episode. Tease future content. In the next chapter of Unseen Stories, we'll explore another forgotten world, the rise and fall of WWE's tag team rivalries, and the stables that shaped entire generations. Because for every champion, there was always a team, and for every hero, a brother in arms. Call to action. If you love discovering what lies beyond the spotlight, the pain, the passion, and the power behind wrestling's greatest stories, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell, because the next story might just change everything you thought you knew about wrestling.